Screencast 55, Customizing Report Designs. Welcome Dynamics AX content creators. Today we're going to discuss customizing report designs. And our scenario today will involve customizing the sales invoice report, which is one of the most complicated reports out of the box. First thing you'll want to do is identify AX artifacts. I'll show you how to do this. I'll show you how I do it. Second, you want to prepare the report. There's some settings in AX you'll want to be aware of before beginning your debugging. Third is a strategy you definitely want to take advantage of, and that's minimizing deployments. I'll show you some ways of doing that, and it involves taking advantage of the VS preview. And finally, this will give you more time to do which is most important, which is fix those bugs. So let's jump right in. I've got an AX environment here, and traditionally what you'll get is instructions on how to launch the report. So I'll go ahead and launch the sales invoice report. And I have an AX R2 preview, so this will be very similar to the environments you all should be working with. And you'll see I've given instructions on how to run this report, and I'll be asked to simply do something like swap these columns, remove a column, I don't know, fix the layout here so that the words actually fit. But you saw that the only way to actually launch the report is through the client navigation. In fact, if you tried to run this report from a menu item, you wouldn't be able to. It requires too much AX context. So that makes it very difficult to debug this, given the fact that the only way to actually execute the report is within the context of the client. So let's figure out how to get around this problem and make it so we can actually debug this report, or extend this report in this case. So as I mentioned, the first thing you'll want to do is create a project in AX. First, use the menu item navigation and form references to figure out which report we're working with. In this case, the report is called Sales Invoice. Now, I did some investigation into this report. I'll show you what I found in VS, but what I found was it's tied to a data provider class. And I grabbed the data provider class and all the temp tables that are used to house temporary data, and I put them in a neat little project here so that everything is conveniently accessible to me. So my task involves simply modifying the design. So I won't be doing any development here in AX besides preparing my report, and I'll show you how to do that. So one way also of finding artifacts that are associated with the report is the Crossref tool, which comes with AX. It's an add-in, and it shows you just all of the objects that are using or referencing that report. So that's very useful. So first thing I'm going to want to do is actually disable some settings. So you'll want to come over to, since we're in the developer's workspace, under forms, there's a form called SSRS Report Deployment Settings. Go ahead and open that form, and what you'll see is a list of reports that ship out of the box with static designs. And what static designs do is make these reports run extremely fast in production environments. However, this doesn't make them very easy to debug. So the first thing you want to do is ensure that your report, if listed here, has static report designs disabled. Now you have to remember to turn that back on once you're done with your report. But let's make sure that's off before you begin debugging or working with the report design. So now that we've done that, we can get back to our report and be assured that it's ready for debugging. So the next thing I want to do is go over here to this data provider class. So now that we've got rid of the static deployment settings, the next thing you want to do is ensure that you understand the data set that's driving that report. So you might want to run it in the production environment, or simply ask for some sample data that's representative of the data that you'll see in a production environment. So take that, and basically what you'll want to do is construct some of your own APIs to input that data. So I'll show you what I've done to this class. I've done nothing more to it except add two private methods that simply fill the temporary tables with some static data that I came up with. It may be real, it may just be data I need to stress the design changes I'm going to make. Regardless, I have control of the data. The first thing I'll do is clear those temp tables, and then I'll simply do inserts of transactional data that will then be surfaced in the report. So now that I've done that, I've added those APIs, I can come into this RDP class, find my process report method. Let's go ahead and find that. And I can comment out all of the code in this method. So by commenting all of the code, you've basically disabled all of the data access logic for the report. So there's no data processing happening when this report is being launched. And instead of the existing business logic, I'm just going to call the methods that I introduced that populate the temporary tables with my static data. So these are going to be really quick operations that aren't going to have any impact on the runtime, except for they're going to make it run much faster. And you won't require any AX context to actually work with the report design at this point because the data is static. So now that we've done that, we've prepared the data set, our design is no longer a static deployment, we can go back to our real tool for development in this case, which is VS. Since our task is to modify the design, most of our time should be spent here. We shouldn't be switching back and forth between AX and Visual Studio. And if you are, then you need to sort of separate your development tasks. Make sure you're working on one aspect of the report at a time. It'll pay off later. So the first thing I've done is load my sales invoice report. And I see that it's tied to a data method library. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my project as well. Now that I've got a complete project, the first thing I like to do is compile, make sure everything's working the way it should, and I've done that, and it does. So I'm happy. I'm going to move on and go directly into the report. I can go ahead and open the production report. I don't have to worry about not having any AX context to basically run through the report. I can preview the report if I'd like. Let me give us some more real estate here. And because my data set is static, it doesn't care about any of the inputs. I can put whatever I want into the parameters. I can turn off the parameters if it helps, and actually see a preview experience that's running against my static data. So now I control the development experience. I control the data that's coming into this design, and I can use the preview to really fine-tune the design to the way I'd like it to be. And I won't go back to AX or deploy until I'm actually happy with the design as it looks here. And I can do things like export to PDF, so I'll see what the ultimate design will look like, the actual one, once this is published to the SSRS server. So, quick recap. When you're going to work on customizing report designs, the first thing you want to do is identify the AX artifacts. Create yourself a project, use the tooling to identify everything related to the report solution. Second, you want to prepare the report. Make sure you turn off the static deployment settings and go take the time to create yourself a static data set. It'll save you time in the long run. Third, minimize deployments. Take advantage of the tooling and use it to fine-tune your design before actually going through the deployment process. Well, I checked the clock, and that's all I've got. If you have any topics you'd like to see covered in future sessions, be sure to let us know. You can reach me at our blog at msdn.com. Just search for Dynamics AX BI and get plugged in. Again, my name is TJ Vassar, and thanks for watching.